The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to RISMedia's ACE webinar series. I'm Burl Workman with Workman Success Systems, and I am fired up. We have amazing guests today. We have an amazing partner, and we are going to have an amazing event. And I just want to thank you all for being here. We have a lot of agents on the call today, and a little bit of feedback on the line. So if you're not talking right now, I'm going to ask you if you'll just hit mute on your line from a panelist perspective, and then as I introduce you, then we'll bring you back in. I want to thank you all for being here, and I'll let you know that this is a great time of year. As we go into November and December, this is the time to work your hardest. A lot of agents like to take their foot off the gas as they go into the holidays, but I'm telling you that the activities you do today will produce the biggest results in January, February, and March. And so always be thinking 90 days in advance and focus on the activities that generate real revenue and not fake work. I want to thank our sponsor today for being here. We have Rick Gossenbeek with IXACT Contact, and Rick is our sponsor. And we invited him today. IXACT Contact is a CRM for real estate professionals and individual teams that has some phenomenal tools and resources. And one of the biggest and most valuable assets that an agent can have in their business is their database. And I think it's appropriate that he sponsored this webinar today and has some amazing things that they do that make them a little bit unique. So, Rich, thank you for being a partner on the call, and I want to encourage you to join us on the call if you have questions with the panelists or you want to share some best practices. We're going through it. Stay with us and be engaged, and thank you for your partnership because that's what makes these webinars possible.
Will do, Verl, and delighted to be a part of this event.
So tell us just a little bit, before we introduce our presenters, a little bit about the company and what you do.
Sure. So IXACT Contact, as you said, Verl, it's a real estate CRM and email marketing system. Sort of core to the value proposition is really ease of use. The best CRM is the one you use, so it pays as a CRM company to be easy, quick to learn and easy to use. Some of the key things that the software helps agents do is to nurture and convert leads into clients. Probably the heart and soul of the system really is it's keeping in touch. It's keeping in touch and staying top of mind with everyone in your database. Your longer term prospects, hot prospects, important referral sources, past clients, and so on. And there's also a big side to the system around organization, helping the agent stay organized on top of all their tasks and to-dos, both their relationship building tasks and to-dos, as well as the active business side of things, their listings and their closings and so on. And then the bottom line is if you do a great job capturing and nurturing and converting leads, and you keep in touch with folks, and you do a good job through the transaction, you can build a referrals and repeat-based business, which is the core objective. So, I know we're trying to keep this very quick. So let's just say that IXACT Contact has all the core CRM functionality that you would expect in a leading CRM, from rich contact profiles, contact categorization, through automated reminders, that sort of thing. Some of the things that make us unique are, you mentioned the ease of use, the breadth of solution. We have some really dynamic email marketing.
If you don't mind me jumping in, when you talk about ease of use, everybody thinks their stuff is easy. But when I look at your program, it really is easy. You don't put so much on a screen that it's confusing. I love that about the interface.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was designed that way from the beginning. The product has grown in terms of its capabilities, but that basic intuitive navigation and ease of use is still there from the original sort of architecture. So yeah, that's a big thing. It's also quite a broad system, though. Sometimes people confuse easy with dumbed down. It's not a dumbed down system. It's quite powerful in terms of its capabilities and the breadth. We even include an agent website. So for an agent that doesn't have a website today, and an amazing number of agents still don't, or they've got an old one that looks every day if it's 10 years old, you can have a beautiful responsive website with IXACT Contact as well. Automation's a huge thing. And we'll get into that in Joe and Julie's presentation. Those are themes I know they're going to touch on. The key is automate everything you can, but don't automate the things you shouldn't automate. That's part of our theme. Concierge service is big. A CRM is still a CRM, and for a lot of agents, it's intimidating, and they never make it over kind of the startup hump. So we go way beyond just uploading their data. We basically set the whole software up for them, so they're seeing business value quickly, and those are some of the core things that make us unique. You want to go to the next slide?
Well, I think it's great, and I really appreciate you being here. There's a lot of differentiators, and you have a special offer. If a client wants to try it, they can.
Yes, we do.
If they want to learn more about it, what's the best place for them to go?
exactcontact.com/RISMedia LP. Actually, I think it's the next slide. If
There
you
it
just
is.
want to pull
I knew it
the
was there.
URL up. Yeah, we can skip over the slide. It's coming.
And so,
I think it's my internet.
all I can tell you is
there
that
it
when
is.
somebody invests in, yeah, there it is. It's a little bit of lag. I had it up there for a minute. All I can recommend to the people that are on the call today is that when somebody invests in you and they bring you something of value, like a webinar that they're doing with RISMedia today, I think that the way that you say thank you is by going and trying it. Go to the site, download the software, play with it, use it, get the information, and make intelligent decisions. And I think that's what I would ask everybody that's on the call to do, is to go in and use the software. Just go try it, and let them show you how great they are. Because I think that the game is the best teacher. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much for being here, and I want to get right into our next guest. So I'm excited, not only excited, I am fired up and excited to introduce Joe Peoples. Joe Peoples began his career in real estate with Charles Reinhardt Company in the summer of 1995. And for the first 10 years of his career, he spent as a sales associate. During that time, he gained an enormous amount of experience in a whole bunch of different areas, representing a lot of builders, selling new construction in Ann Arbor, Chelsea, Dexter, and the surrounding areas. His experience in helping families both buying and selling and resell new homes throughout Waukesha, I can't even say it, it's Waukesha County, earned multiple production awards for being in the top 10% of performers. What I love about Joe now is Joe manages and trains real estate professionals. He's one of the best managers in the company, and he is a workman success systems coach, and he helps a lot of agency teams incorporate technology systems and processes in their business. His clients absolutely love him. I consider him a great friend, and I appreciate him sharing his wisdom and knowledge on contact management and really getting the most out of your database. Joe, thanks for being here.
Hey, Verl, thanks for the great introduction, too. You know, that background story is pretty important in having IXACT Contact sponsor us, because I wanted to start this presentation with these photographs. And this is a photograph of how my, my contact management system worked when I started as a manager looking to recruit and build my office here in Ann Arbor. And I would like to say the system worked, but there was a lot of labor involved. But it did transform my office. In the time that I've been here, we doubled our production with the same number of people. We had a lot of great retention because the focus was on the things that were important. I think, Rich, you talked about using a CRM. Would you say you want to automate all the things you should and none of the things you shouldn't? And one of the things that's really been helpful as technology has come around, these new CRMs that are available really allow you to automate the things that you should, so you can spend more time doing our work. Verl, you have that.
Joe, when I saw this slide, I got to tell you, I saw this slide and I had a moment that took me back to my first real sales job selling cars. And the very first day, my manager made me go over to the office store and buy that plastic little folder and those little 3x5 parts ABC, and made me make a list of everybody I know. And it just took me right back to that moment. I just smiled.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny though, Verl, is the old stuff still works. You know, at the end of the day, and I think that's the kind of focal point. At the end of the day, it's really, you gotta be in relationship with people, talking to them about the life transition, the life events that are gonna happen, and that's really what the whole function is. So all the other things we were doing are all built around bringing us to that point. Our company here in Ann Arbor, you know, we've done some pretty cool things. As a brand, as a brokerage, I would say we have like a 40% share of the marketplace in Ann Arbor, and about 35% in our county. And at the heart of what we do as a brokerage is really focus on staying in touch, being in a relationship with our best relationships. You know, that whole follow-up and care. The founder of our company said, we didn't set out to be number one, we set out to be the best. And you be the best by being in relationships with people. So that's really at the heart of what goes on. Now, we talked about talking about what are some best practices. And if you go to the next slide, I've got there, it's right there. I've got the next slide. It's kind of like there's 4 things that are a big deal about getting the most or best practices out of your database. And it's like in today's world, you have to have both an inbound and outbound marketing programs. So you have to have a structure you're working in. In addition to that, you have to have this commitment to executing the program daily. And at the same time, you've got to track your activity. And then lastly, it's really every contact, every lead is going to go into your CRM. And I put down here database collection, because in your CRM, you're going to have a lot of databases or a lot of different groups. You know, you have internet leads, or you have leads from open houses. You got your center of influence. You have, like we have the top 50 program. There's just a lot of different sources that are going to go into your CRM. But the whole idea is everything has got to go into this factory for processing. So if we could go on to the next slide.
Yeah, I think there's just a little bit of a pause.
Okay, oh, perfect. I have to say the slide looks a lot better. I'm so happy. Thank you, Chad. All right, so let's just have some fun though. In both inbound and outbound marketing programs. I've got 5 bullet points there, and after the colon, when we talk about directing traffic, at the beginning of any database, you really have to have a plan for directing like everything back to your database. And we talk, there are landing pages, websites, blogs, and there's an endless source of ways you're going to direct traffic back to your database. And so when you're running ads on Facebook, that's going to be more of, I like to call it more of an inbound activity. When you're picking up the phone, you know, bullet point down there, number 4, when you pick up the phone, that's you actually doing outbound work. You're reaching out to your best leads, your best contacts, your #1 suspects. Follow-up programs. These things do need to be automated, but there needs to be a program that's coordinated. How are you following up with your ads? How are you going to be following up with your best friends? They all have to have a plan. I think we talk about a lot, Burl, the anniversary programs, yeah, birthdays, just moved into the house, anything you can come up with for follow-up to stay in relationship with people, pretty important. But at the very bottom is probably the most important bullet point on this slide. All of the 4 steps above, directing traffic, follow-up programs, digital check-ins, picking up the phone, they're all built around the concept of getting face-to-face, or I put down here, scheduling an appointment. Because without an appointment, you can't have success. You know, it's the conversations creates closings. So you really want to start with a structure, and your database has to be organized to receive information from all these different sources. Let's go on to the next slide. It's a little lag, but here we go. Commit to executing each program daily. Oh, Burl, you said this. You know, there's a first commitment. I'm just going to make it a little different though. There's that first commitment, you decide to become a real estate agent, and then there's a second commitment you have to do is actually make it happen. And so committing to executing the programs daily is really identifying like the automatic workflows, you know, for all of your marketing programs. Everything that you can automate, you have to automate it. With that first slide with those cards, I used to spend hours downloading CVS files out of the MLS, searching each agent by the year, putting their numbers down, having 2 years of data, and then reading the cards consistently so that when I did pick up the phone and make that next call, I had an idea what was going on in their business. You know, today we have some different tools to get that information quicker, and now it makes the conversation faster and easier.
So Joe, I love you. Can I ask you a couple questions? Do you mind if I just kind of jump in?
Yeah, please. You
know, when you talk about, if I went back to the previous slide for just a second, you talked about, you know, picking up the phone and getting face-to-face and scheduling appointments. You know, people forget the why behind the task all the time. And so they do tasks, but they don't really understand the reason they're doing it. And because you've been doing it so long, sometimes I think you forget how valuable the why is behind it. You know, having a follow-up program and a geographic farm and email list does it, but the purpose of all of the database is to create opportunities for you to get face-to-face. The whole reason behind the database is not so you can say, I have a good database. And so you get more appointments and get face-to-face with people. And so I think that the whole concept of mastering your database is consistent with everything that you're saying. And we could have started and ended the entire webinar today with The CRM is designed to get you face-to-face with more people listing or buying real estate, and that is really the core of everything. And so we can't forget the why behind it. It's not that I want you to send birthday cards or anniversary cards. Those activities generate front of mind marketing, and I want you to be at the front of the mind of that client. So at that moment they're thinking of doing something, they think of you first. And if you don't automate it, you don't have it in your database, then it's not going to happen. You're going to lose tens of thousands of dollars because they're going to go to other people. So I love the concept of all that you're talking about. I just don't want it to get lost on our listeners that the value is the getting appointments. We got to get face to face, right?
Real estate is a contact sport.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You won't even need a concussion helmet for playing this game, though. So that's what's really good. And bro, I like connecting the why, because one of the things we talk about so often are daily success habits, and it's really defining what needs to be done to achieve the outcome you're looking for. The whole idea of daily success habits is scalable, whether it's you working as a solo agent, an agent with an assistant, or you're operating a team of 100 agents. It's really knowing what are the ingredients for the results you're looking for. And so often the ingredients are really the same. It's how many people have I talked to, and how much effort have I put into connecting with the people that matter most to the success for my business and the success for their life as well. Another thing that's pretty important is the making progress, not perfection. It's not about perfection. I joke with one of my agents today, say you don't actually have to be good, you just have to be consistent. And consistently looking at ways to be just a little bit better, just a little different message, one or two words here and there, but being consistent and present all the time on this work. You can't create something from nothing, and you have to put in a little bit of time every day. We talked about this, the 1% rule. What's the one more thing that I can do one more time? What's the one little improvement I can make today? And really celebrate those small movements. And I think that just dovetails right into the idea of working in your business daily.
It absolutely does. And I love that you included the Daily Success Habits Tracker. And we'll make this available for a download at the end of the webinar today. Stay on, and I'll make sure that you get a landing page where you can go and download some of the valuable tools. We've got some great things to give away to everybody, including the Daily Success Habits Tracker. What kind of an impact does tracking the activities you do in a day have on your database?
Yeah, so tracking the activities, it's a feedback loop. And I think that's one of the points I talked about, making progress, not perfection. It's like all feedback is positive, because when you're paying attention to what is or is not happening, you have an opportunity to make a decision of whether should I do more of this or should I do less of this. And that is just a key part of the moving forward. And I think that, thanks a lot for moving to the next slide, because that's exactly what it is. It's like keeping score and measuring your results, knowing your business numbers. When you're using a professional tool like a CRM, and you're doing all your activities inside of that one space, now you will actually see what kind of activity, what your conversions are. You would instantly be able to say, I need to make 5 sales this week. What do I need to do? And you can go right to your CRM and see exactly what those numbers are. And the other part is, I remember one of the sales trainings that I was at years ago, and the question that was asked to the audience, well, how long do you plan to be a real estate agent? And we all answered forever, and that's right. So be prepared, plan to, and then follow up forever. Eventually every person is going to make a housing decision, and you just want to be there when they make that choice.
With the agents that you lead, Joe, can you tell the difference between the ones that are actually using their CRM effectively and ones who just buy it and don't use it? I mean, is there a noticeable difference in the production of agents using their CRM effectively and those who don't?
Oh, that is a really loaded question, because this is one of the things I've said 100 times. Like, there is a noticeable difference between the people who act with the intention to use it versus the people who don't have it at all. And just the act of having a CRM, having a database, and working toward it, you're going to have different results. Here's where I notice things transition. when you're scaling your business up, you have to use a CRM because you can't run your business like a lemonade stand anymore. You've got to put systems in place so that you and another person can communicate and be on task with what has to happen next to move not just yourself ahead, but all of the people around you. So just the act of having a CRM, you're moving forward. The act of using it is actually going to start to do the compounding effect of growing your business faster and faster because now you have a better feedback loop.
Yeah, I love it. So, I've been a CRM guy for a long time, and I sat on a plane next to one of the executives of Franklin Covey, one of the original database. I remember carrying my Franklin planner, and they taught the Franklin system, and that was a big deal. I sat next to one of the executives on a plane when I was traveling, and I said, give me one piece of advice. Give me one thing that will help me be a better user of my database. And he said to me, bro, let me give you one thing. He said, whenever you have a touch with someone, whenever you have a communication, whenever you have a call, an email, a text, or whatever, always schedule the next touch. So whenever you have a touch with someone, whatever that is, always schedule the next activity. Is it send them a follow-up card or a birthday call or whatever? And if you'll always schedule the next activity, nobody will ever fall through the cracks. And that's something that I've started doing when I had that conversation. And that's helped me build not just an incredible database, but some very, very strong, amazing relationships. And so as you talk about database and things you do to make it work, sometimes it's the basic fundamentals that get us the greatest result.
There's not anything to add to that, Verl. I mean, the whole point is everything you're doing is to get yourself where you're in a conversation with someone about real estate. And you're trying to really help that person move their life forward, and you're really just a vehicle to get them there.
Absolutely true. So give me a summary.
Give me a summary. Pick up the phone and call all the people you know. Yeah, I mean, really, this is really all about being in conversations with people, and you want to put all the tools you can in place. If I were going to draw a picture of my slides, it was kind of like, imagine you're starting at the top of the funnel, and it's knowing that you want to do marketing both inbound and outbound, and from there you want to pay attention to the activities that you're doing, like make sure you're actually executing the plan you put in place. And then you want to move to the next part of like monitoring and tracking daily because you need that feedback so you can go back and continue to improve the process. And at the very end, it's like you're keeping score and you're being prepared. And at the same time, you know that you've got to be able to access your database all the time. It's alive, it's living, and you have to be tuned into it just like you would take care of a baby. That would be the summary.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Yep.
You know, I think about your database in real estate business. I look at, if you imagine a wheel, and in the wheel there's all these spokes. I don't think anything happens without that center hub being solid, and the center of the hub is your CRM. I believe that your CRM, your client relationship manager, is the most important piece of technology you own. It's more important than your car. It's more important than your cell phone. It's more important than your iPad. It's more important than any single piece of technology because that's where your relationships are managed. And if you remember that your database or your CRM is where the relationships are, and that's where you put your focus, as you turn that, the leverage it creates in other areas, every other aspect of your business is exponentially moves the wheel forward. And so spend time in your database, understand it's the most powerful asset you have, follow the tips that Joe shared with you, and let's introduce our next guest. Joe, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and insight.
You're welcome.
It's fun to have you. Well, I'm just so excited and fired up to introduce our next guest. And our next guest is Julie Tooten-Timms. Now, Julie, I have a bio, but let me give you the Verl bio. The Verl bio is, Julie is one of the most authentic, giving people that I've ever met in the world. Her and her husband, Bernie, live in Hilton Head, South Carolina, and you'll meet a lot of people in your life that you think are good people. Julie and Bernie are authentically some of the best people that I've ever met. I consider them part of my family. Julie's a workman success coach, but more importantly, when I first met Julie, Julie was a broker owner that was struggling to find profitability in her business, and it's been fun to take her to watch her incorporate systems and process and tools and change your attitude towards people in the business and create an amazing business. Julie now runs Hilton Head Island Real Estate Brokers, a team in Hilton Head. It's a 7-figure team with 9 people on the team that provides amazing client experiences. And as a result of creating those amazing client experiences, it allowed her to live the life that she wants in travel and taking care of her children and giving back to others by being a great coach. Julie, thank you so much for being here. And I can't wait to hear your thoughts and how you incorporate technology and tools to kick butt with your database. So thank you.
Wow, Burl. Well, thanks for that introduction. I don't know that I'm worthy of that, but thank you for your kind words. And, you know, I love that CRM. You know, everybody says CRM, but you know what? It's a contact relationship manager, not just client relationship manager. You know, contacts are people too. And people are people, and they have families, they have wants, they have needs, and they really want to find somebody that they can know and trust and just rely on for the largest decision they'll ever make. And not only is it the largest decision they'll ever make, it's also a place where they'll make and grow memories, where they'll raise their families, where they'll have to go to and from, to work, to church, to school, to activities, the neighbors. They're either gonna love their neighbors or hate them. I mean, there's just so very much importance. And you know, when I says don't be overwhelmed with your contacts, just get out of contacts and get into people. These are friends. These are wonderful folks that need your help. And you owe it to them if they've reached out to you at one time or another, or rely on them. It's up to you, and they rely on you to take care of them. And
hey, Julie,
you need to be, yeah.
I love that, and I hope Rich or somebody from RISMedia tweets it. Contacts are people too. I think that's a great one-liner for today. I think that's awesome, and I can't agree more.
Oh.
And just as you talk about people and how much they need your help and how much we do to change people's lives, you can see why I introduced Julie the way I did. This is who she is. It's awesome.
Well, thank you, Burl. But they are. You know, there's so many. You know, we as real estate agents, if you use that real estate agent, okay, we have got such a bad connotation out there. And, you know, when you're talking to somebody, you got a 50-50 chance that they're either going to tell you what they want or need, or just tell you the worst experience they ever had with somebody with commission breath that tried to pull money out of the pocket and made a deal. Okay, so I really take my contacts, or not contacts, my people. They're my people. They're my people. And you know, I really want them to know that I'm their realtor. I mean, if you ask me who's your dentist, I'm going to say, well, you know, Palmetto Dental Arts is my dentist. I love those guys. Shelley is the best hygienist in the world, and I'd never go to anybody else. My lawyer, my CPA, all those folks. And then, you know, I want to be, who's your realtor? I want them to say, Julie's my realtor, or anybody on my team. And every single one of you out there, you want them to say, my realtor is, and say your name. And that's just so important. And, you know, the only way you can earn that respect is to keep in touch with people, to let them know what they need to know before they need to know it, and just care about them, reach out to them. And you're coming up with this really cool book, 8651, and it's talking about your top 50. The top people, you know, top 50 people who may give you a referral, and you one touch a month. Okay, that's it in a nutshell. But, you know, whether you're just starting in the real estate business or whether you're a seasoned agent, okay, I need you to, I'm going to steal a line from Howard Brinton, who had a huge impact on me early on, for those of you who remember him. Get out of judgment and into curiosity about nurturing these people and touching base with these people all the time. And these top 50 people, those are people that you have helped and are raving fans. And you make people raving fans by just giving them the service and anticipating what they need. So,
so Julie, I love this
yeah.
concept. I love the concept of top 50 because it does get overwhelming when you have 200, 300, 400, 1,200. I've seen agents with databases of 3,000 and 4,000, and you just can't talk to all of them. And so the concept behind the top 50 is you pick the 50 you like the most, people that like you the most, that are most likely to give you a referral. And that makes it easy and doable for me. It becomes overwhelming until you break it down to something as simple as your top 50 here. So great concept.
Well, and you know what, Burl? We spend our time chasing new people, and we think we're going to recreate the wheel. Why don't we just be sure to take care of the people who know and like us already? You know, why? You know, sometimes you think, oh, well, my mama raised me. I can't call them and ask them for business. They are my friends. But you know what? You can't just, if you sit there and you get your top 50 and you call them once a month and go, hi, I'm in real estate. I need a client. Would you send me somebody today? That's not what you do. That's not what you do at all. You know, you build relationships with these folks. Hey, you see somebody on Facebook and you see the fact that their home team or the high school team, their child was recognized as a top athlete. Don't just push a like button on that. They're in your top 50. You love these people. Call them up on the phone and say, wow, I just saw where Sarah made that great award. Congratulations. You have to be over the moon. That type of thing is what you do to talk to people. And you know what? Real estate always comes up. I don't know about you, Burl, but every time I talk to folks, they, somehow, somewhere, they say, well, how's the real estate business? Okay? And it'll always come up. They'll bring it up. And you can get around to it, too. There's subtle ways to do it, and then there's hitting them between the eye ways to do it. So,
I'm curious. Hey, do you mind if I ask Rich a question, Julie? So, Rich, in exact contact, can we go in and we can add a contact type and call it the top 50? And so I can do a quick search each day of my top 50, and it'll bring up the list of the top 50 people that I want to give me one referral this year. Is that easy enough to do?
Absolutely. You can also assign an automated monthly, keep in touch reminder for your top 50. So nobody falls through the cracks. Every 30 days, you get a reminder to, contact each of these people, and you can spread it over the 30-day window. It's all part of it. Plus, something you said, Verl, before, which is after you've had a contact, if you don't want to use the automated monthly reminder, you had a cool idea, which is anytime you have a contact with someone, record that little conversation, but set up your follow-up task. You can do that as well. So,
yeah. Julie put something really cool together. Go ahead.
No, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But you know what? In contact types, they don't have to just be one contact type. They could be in your top 50. They could be somebody who is either an A, B, or C lead. They're getting ready to buy something. There's something 30 to 90 days, or they're 90 days out. They could also be a contractor. They could be an accountant. They could be on your Christmas list. They could be on all kinds of different things. So you can search them every time, and every time you talk to them, if you write down what you said and then put the next time you're going to talk to them, then you just pull up the notes, you see what you talked to them, and you go, well, tell me, how was that last time I talked to you? Billy broke his leg. Did that heal okay? I mean, what you're just
exactly.
You're just talking to folks. I can't tell you how important it is to nurture relationships and nurture relationships from people that you know and love. The worst thing that could ever happen to you is that you have had people that should be in your top 50, and you go to a party or an event, and they go, oh, hey, Julie, are you still in real estate? Well, duh. Why did they ask me that? It's because I hadn't been in touch with them. Anyway,
right.
I digress. But if that's ever happened to you, you're sinking in your boots right now. Yep.
That's so true. So on the previous slide, when you brought your top 50, you said you do one personal touch every month with each member of your top 50. So a personal touch is defined as a phone call, a go to lunch, go out as couples. These are the people you like the most. It's different than an automated email. And so when you're doing a personal touch, it's different than just an auto response. And so you're taking the 50 people, it sounds like, and you're elevating the interaction you have with that core group that you want to get one referral from each year.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a genuine touch. It's not you know, some form letter. Because I mean, I don't know if you ever gotten a form email. You go, yeah, well, I bet you sent this to 11 dozen people. You know, you've got to reach out. You've got to touch them. And I'll tell you, it's really fun because you can, if you're going to an event, just say there is a oyster. Well, I don't know if you have oyster festivals. I'm sure y'all have a lot of those, Joe, in Michigan. But say there's an oyster festival this weekend. You invite everybody in your top 50 and say, hey, let's all get together and let's go to the oyster festival. So you can have a personal touch, and then your top 50 starts meeting your top 50, and then they start talking about you and spreading the word with each other when you're not even there. It's cool. But
share with me some things you would do with your top 50 list, some ideas.
Okay, well, you know, here's up on the screen, you have it. Like in January, you can just call and say Happy New Year. Catch up with them, find out what's going on in their life. You know, the Ford script, you know, family, occupation, recreation, dreams. You can absolutely find things to talk to people about. And you've got there the apology script. You know, oh God, you know what? I was driving by your street and I thought of you, and I thought, oh my gosh, I hadn't talked to Bill in the month of Sundays. I better go see what's going on with him. How in the world are you doing? Will you forgive me for being so lax and not talking to you in all this time? February Valentine's promotion. Hey, remember it's Valentine's Day. You better be sure to give somebody a card, or you know, or you can send them something. We love referrals. We value your opinion. March. You know, there's all kinds of things you can do. I mean, the list goes on, and here's just a idea of things to do. You know, September, October, November. But most of all, if you know these people, these are top 50. I mean, if you see them, pass them on the street, you should know who they are. You know, you got the Ford dialogue script up there. You know, how you doing? How's your family? How's your mom and them? And all kinds of things. Occupation, tell me about your job. You don't have to be a great conversationalist. You just have to ask a question, and then they'll start talking. And then by the time you're done, I'm sure you'll be talking about real estate one way or another. And then they'll think you're the best conversationalist in the world, and you didn't say 6 things. You just asked them the right question.
You know, I love the Ford dialogue, Julie, and I love how you do it without even thinking about it. When I listen to you talking about how's your family, how's your job, what are you doing for fun? The key is when you're calling through it, you have your CRM open and in front of you. And when you're asking questions, you're filling in what their kids do and answers to the questions and what kind of job they have. And your database becomes this a living, breathing thing. So when someone needs something, you've got somebody in your own database that you can refer to them. I learned a long time ago, and maybe it was you that said this, that you get by giving. And if you want more referrals out of your database, you have to give more referrals. You have to give more people referrals. And so by tracking who they are and what they do, it gives you the ability to search for those categories and then send more business out.
Absolutely. And, you know, these are people who are supporting their families too. And the more you can give to them, the better it is. It's just awesome. It is just awesome. I mean, you know, in the relationships, they just grow and grow and grow over time. And, you know, you watch their families grow. You watch when they have children, and then you've been around as long as I have. You start watching them have grandchildren, and it's just a whole relationship. And, you know, there is a real value to a client. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But, you know, if you think about if you're depending on how long you plan on being in real estate, you know, like Joe said, forever. I don't know many people that go, well, I took my test this week. The average, I'll be out of here in 3 years. So let me see what I can do. But the value of a client, if you look at, you know, you take your average sales price. You make a fee, you know, you help some people and you get rewarded with a fee. And then in a few years, they've outgrown that house, they sell their house, and then they buy a new one. That's another couple of fees. And in another 5 years, they do the same thing again. They refer you a couple of people over a lifetime. And, you know, clients could be worth as little as $4,500 or $45,000 over a lifetime. We have one of my clients. I mean, they've been responsible for referring over $1 million in gross commission income just for what they have done. And it's not about the money, guys. The money, you chase money, it runs. But if you nurture and you give people what they need and what they deserve and what they really deserve, then you know what? The bottom line will take care of itself every time. And you just can't let these people fall victim to somebody who's not going to be as good as you are, who'll care as much as you. Anyway, that I'll step off the soapbox and go back.
You know what you're saying is absolutely true. We spend so much time and we spend so much money and so much effort looking for strangers. And if all we did is take care of the people that already like us and already know us, our lives would be less complicated. We would have more business and we would enjoy what we do better. But we work so hard at trying to buy leads or go outside our spheres. And I think that we need to take care of our house and get our house in order, and that happens in our CRM. And so everything you're talking about and the energy that you have around your database and your relationships, Julie, I was looking at your lead tracker the other day, and you had a client that has been in a nurture phase for over 2,000 days. How do you follow up with someone for 2,000 days, and what did they buy?
Well, what I do is I just touch base with them every now and then. They were a C buyer, so I would try to touch base with them one way or another at least once a month. They would hear from me at least once every 3 months. I knew that they were a good ways out because he was going to be retiring, but he always kept his eyes open. Whenever he'd come to Hilton Head, we'd always get together and talk about a few things. And then, well, let's see, what did he end up buying? He ended up buying a $2.5 million house after 8 years, you know. And so that week was a good payday, but it's the same token. It was, you know, he's a lovely person, and they're friends for life. They come to our annual client party, and we see him every year. And every time he's got a real estate need, he reaches out to me, and it is my honor and privilege to be able to help people.
What I think is interesting is that, you know, they start out as a lead, they start out as a contact, and you say contacts are people too, and then after 2,070 days. You develop a relationship and you nurture them. They become friends. And a $2.5 million sale, that's a good year for a lot of people. So, you know, just being able to understand the value of a client. Now, what does it cost you when you don't follow up? What does it cost you when you don't have a system? What does it cost you when you don't do the things that you're talking about here? What does it cost you when you lose a client like that?
You know, it costs you. First of all, ultimate embarrassment, and I won't say anger at myself. I'd be ashamed of myself because, you know, there's nothing worse than not following up and running into somebody who said, you know what, I have just bought a new house. Aren't you happy for me? And you know what happened is because I hadn't been in touch with them. What happened is they ran into the first real estate agent that they saw who did pick up on something, and then they bought it from them. And I look at myself and I go, dummy, why didn't you follow up with those folks? And I have no one to blame but myself. No one to blame but myself. And it's because I hadn't followed up. And I'll tell you what, Burl, you and I have known each other a long time, and you were the one that made me get a CRM and start using it. And Les has fallen through the cracks, and I just feel so much more in control of my real estate career and my time and what I'm supposed to be doing, instead of waking up in the middle of the night going, dang, I should have called them, and having all these little pieces of paper and notepads all over my desk.
I used to have the Post-it notes all over my computer. I thought that's what the computer was for, is a place to hold your Post-it notes.
Indeed.
So I love that you put the slide in here. Harvey McKay's book, Swim with the Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive. Tell me about the 66.
Well, I'll tell you, this is all things that you can know about people, okay, that will remind you of who they are and what their interest is, and it's also good fodder for conversation. I mean, you don't look at and you want to have all of this in your database, if you personally, if you possibly can, but you don't sit down with somebody and go, well, hey, I've got 66 questions I'd like to ask you today. You just get around to it, and each time you talk to them, you add a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, because sometimes you can find out that, it's some special day for somebody, and they love Snickers bars. Well, just send them drop by and give them a Snickers bar or something. Hey, well done. And it's just fun. And there's just so many things. This is what people are about. This is what makes them real. Their children, their anniversary, their spouses. Anniversaries are great. You can call them up the 2 days before and go, hey, Bill, remember it's your anniversary. Oh, Julie, thank you so much. I completely forgot. Now I'm not going to be in the doghouse, and you don't have to sell my house. But all kinds of stuff. Their vacation habits. If you hear something great, you can, hey, I know you love to go to Aruba. Yeah, I saw a deal somewhere. If you saw it, I mean, you just never know what people are.
My
until
favorite,
you ask, and they love it.
One of my favorite things, I love this list too, and as you're sharing it, I'm thinking of all the questions. I remember in his book he talked about moving to Atlanta, Georgia, and not knowing how he was going to compete, and he decided he was going to get into envelopes. And he built a multi-million-dollar company by developing better relationships with the people who make decisions on who buys the envelopes. And he developed that 66 question, and the best question is the number 66. That says, does your competitor have better answers to these questions than you? And that concept of developing relationships deeper, everybody knows someone that's a realtor, but not many people know realtors that ask the kinds of questions and remember the things that are in the 66 question profile. And that's what I think makes it so powerful. So thank you so much for sharing it.
Oh, amen. Thank you. And remember, you're always, and what else he said in that book, somebody always has a number one. You need to be, if you can't be number one, you need to be number two, because number one's going to screw up one day, and there's your opportunity.
That is right. I remember that. I don't think I've read that. I've read this book since I was probably 20, which is a long time ago for me.
Oh, it's just yesterday. Just blink.
Yeah, I know. It's so true. So, Julie, if you were to give me 2 or 3 things that you do with your database consistently that have made the biggest impact on your business, what would they be? And then I'm going to ask Joe the same thing. And if for those of you that are on the webinar right now, if you have questions for Julie or for Joe or for Rich, type your questions in. And Peter, I'm going to ask you to look at the questions and monitor the questions. And if there's any questions, if you'll ask them, I can't get access to that on my control panel on the call for some reason. So if anyone has any questions, type them in on the control panel. And let's see what we have. So, Julie, 1 or 2 best practices, things that you do with your database on a daily basis that have made the most impact.
All right. The first thing that I would say is that I put my CRM on my browser. So every time I open up my computer, it opens up. I don't have a choice. And I spend my first hour, because I don't try, you either do it or you don't. I prospect 2 hours every day. That's my goal, to prospect 2 hours every day. And I prospect out of my CRM first before I go to any other sources, because these prospects are my jewels. These are not people I don't know. These are my jewels. These are people I have a relationship with. And so I do that every single day, and I open it up in my browser, and I do that. And number 2, the best thing that you can ever do is to write down in your notes what you said to these folks, what is important to them, and absolutely set the next time you're going to talk to them. And you can set up weekly event or events. You can set up task lists and everything like that. But if you manually set the next time you know you're going to talk to these folks, and you take copious notes, it's just right there, and you have no one but yourself to blame if you don't do it. Those are my two.
Thank you. Joe, can I ask you the same thing? If there's one or two specific best practices that you do with your CRM and you do it consistently to make the biggest impact, what would you say those one or two are? And then I'm going to ask Rich the same thing.
Oh, perfect. You know, I would say the number one thing is qualifying my database. It's one of those, it's the kind of joke is like, you really like to know who's on the team, who's rooting for you, who's cheering for you, who's really pulling in the same direction. And so probably the most important thing I've ever done with my database is make the call and ask the question to find out, you know, if you knew someone that was thinking about buying or selling real estate, you know, do you have an agent you would refer, and find out I'm the number three agent, a number two, or number one. That has probably been the most important thing. The second part is being okay with any answer you get, because it's more important to give the people in your database a chance to decide what they want to do. And when you know they're going to be supporting your business, you don't have to assume anything. So that would be it. Qualifying a database is the number one most important thing that I've done.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Rich, if you don't mind, you've been in this business for a long time. You've created amazing technology. When you talk about best practices, I mean, what are the one or two most important things that everybody does with their database to get the greatest result?
Boy, that's a tough question, Earl, especially because the answers from Julie and Joe are so rock solid. And you know, we have over 10,000 agents using the system, so I see a lot of different ways of using the same system to achieve success. There's no one way. I think certainly going back to basics, consolidating all your data into one database is a big thing. Whether it's, you know, the boxes of the business cards, or maybe more modern, some people have some contact data in Outlook and in an Excel spreadsheet and trapped in their website. Get it all in one place. Categorize it. Categorizing is really important, and then, you know, communicate with people in the ways that make sense. I think that's key. And just keep in touch. You know, I love everything Julie said about when you talk to someone, make a note. We're huge fans of developing rich contact profiles and never ever losing touch with people. I'm also a huge fan of this idea that when you get a prospect, I think, you know, realtors are great at hot prospects. They know exactly what to do with a hot prospect. They often don't know what to do with a longer term prospect that could be very high quality, like that fella who bought the $2.5 million home, you know, after 7 years of nurturing or whatever it was. So I've always had a philosophy, which is no prospect, it's not a no, it's a not yet. It's just not yet. You know, you just haven't decided to do business with me yet. And I will nurture someone till the end of time. And I've done that. I've been in business 35 years. I've, yeah, it's not yet. I used to have a button, like a, you know, lapel button I'd wear. I said, not yet. Anyway, I want to say one last thing, and I know we're running low on time, which is this has been very cool for me, a cool experience, because I'm normally I'm a talker, and I've said very little through this webinar because Joe and Julie did, and yourself, Earl, did such a good job. And what's kind of blown me away is, from a philosophical point of view, it's like we did the Vulcan mind meld before this thing. We actually didn't do it. But we built Exact Contact, myself and my other two co-founders, to support everything that's been talked about on this webinar today. It almost gives me chills. Like I have nothing to say because you guys said it all. All I can say is, hey, you know, if you don't have a CRM, get one. Obviously, that's been a pretty strong message here. Or if you don't like the one you have, you know, give Exact Contact a try. And virtually everything that was talked about, from, you know, contact consolidation, categorization, keeping in touch, making notes, follow-up, automation, that's what we built Exact Contact to do. And the essence of it, I forget who said it, I think it was you, Earl, you said getting face-to-face with prospects and clients is the why of a real estate CRM and all the associated sort of functionality that goes with it. And, you know, I couldn't emphasize that more strongly. That is what it's all about.
I appreciate that. You know, we made a few giveaways. We've got the 8651 ebook, how to close 86 transactions, working with 50 people 1 hour a day with a step-by-step process on how to make that happen. Julie talked about it today. Download the ebook for free. Go to the website on your screen, the 5 key steps to turning leads into lifetime clients. And there's a control panel over the last part of the other download here that I can't make go away. So I can't tell you what other it is. The CRM buyer's checklist. Both gifts of Exact Contact. We want to say thank you for being here. I want to encourage you. Peter, were there other questions you wanted to ask before we wrapped up today?
Oh, I think we're pretty good, Verl. There is one question. Maybe this would be good for both Rich as well as the panel. And the question was, can you set the follow-up call in a CRM? And how do you overcome call reluctance?
I'd love to tackle that one if it's okay with you, Verl.
Yeah, absolutely.
So can you set in the CRM? Absolutely. How do you overcome call reluctance? And it's interesting. NAR did research a number of years ago into why. I mean, every agent knows they should keep in touch with people, and yet they don't. So NAR asked the question: what prevents you from picking up the phone and calling, past clients and referral sources and so on? And they thought the issue, the number one issue would be time. I don't have the time, or this and that. And the number one issue actually came back as I'm afraid. I'm afraid to pick up the phone because I don't know what to talk about. And it goes back to, so the way you solve that goes back to what Julie talked about. If you're doing a good job, if you're practicing business with your ears open, listen to what people share with you. It's so easy. You're talking to a client or a prospect, and how was your weekend? And Verl says to me, oh, my weekend was great. I was in New Jersey for a hockey tournament. My son's 13 years old. He's playing AAA, blah, blah, blah. As long as I make a little note of that, I may get busy. I don't talk to Verl for 3 or 4 months, or maybe it's 6 months, but at least I can pick up the phone, and say, hey, Verl, I'm sorry we haven't chatted for a while, but how'd your son's season go? I know he's playing AAA and blah, blah, blah. So if you build rich contact profiles, you go after that McKay 66, which is a heck of a list, and you don't have to be perfect. To pick up on one thing Joe said, the goal is not perfection.
That's right. So,
or as my father used to say, we always strive for perfection. We just never quite get there. It's make progress, learn about people, and make notes in your CRM, because the CRM is designed to capture this information about family, friends, work details, the McKay 66. And that would be my recommendation. As you get to know people as humans, and you remember what you talked about last and what they shared with you, the call reluctance melts away.
That's right. And if I can give you a short answer. Sure, Julie, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, Verl, and then I just have a thought.
Well, the way I overcome call reluctance is real easy, and I'm going to give you a really short answer. They're already not doing business with you. You have nothing to lose by calling them. Pick up the phone. The worst case has already happened. You don't have their business. And so if you think of the worst case that's already happened, just pick up the phone and start dialing. The first call is the hardest one to make. So every day, get up and eat that frog, make that first call first, and you'll be off to making big bucks. And remember, the worst case has happened. They're not using you, so it can't go downhill from there. Julie, go ahead.
Oh, the only other thing I was going to say is, as you're talking to people, listen to understand and listen to what they're saying. Don't try to talk over them. There's so many folks that already they hear what they think you're saying, and all of a sudden they start answering a question you didn't ask in the first place. So if you will listen to understand people rather than listening to respond to people, it'll get you further than anything else that you can do, because I'm assuming you're going to use your CRM or your contact relationship manager, and you're going to create wonderful relationships with these folks, and they're going to love you. And you're going to be the person that is their realtor for life.
And with that, I want to thank everybody for being part of today's webinar. Rich at Exact Contact, thanks for sponsoring RISMedia's 8th content series. I'll tell you what, when you talk about having a great relationship with your people, don't forget to check out ACE from RISMedia. It's a phenomenal program with high touches and relevant media. On behalf of Joe Peoples, Julie Timms, Workman Success Systems, thank you for being here. Have a phenomenal rest of the week and rest of the year. I'll talk to you all on our next RISMedia webinar series.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Verl. Thanks, everybody.
Yep.